So today we're going to look at the colon. The colon is the punctuation mark that looks like two periods stacked on top of each other. Now the colon is slightly different to other punctuation marks, specifically the comma that we studied last week, but also a period or exclamation point, etc. Or even a semicolon, which we will look at again today. The reason being that those other punctuation marks indicate pauses in the text, somewhere where the reader can pause for a moment, or it separates the things either side, whereas a colon links things together. What it really does is draw attention to the things that follow it, marking them as important, right? So it's an introducer of things. For example, it introduces lists, quotations, or formal statements. So what we're going to do today, go through a few examples of colon usage in some sentences related to the Netflix show The Peaky Blinders. The first sentence. The cast of Peaky Blinders includes the following stars: Cillian Murphy, Tom Hardy, and Sam Neill. Okay, so clearly we have here a list of actors who appear in the show, and as per my previous instructions, we can use a colon to introduce that list. Therefore, we can place the colon between stars and the name of the first actor. An important little note here for you, or hint: if you are introducing a list using the words "the following" or "the following items," then you will use the colon. Okay? You do not always precede a list with a colon. If your list is preceded by a verb, do not use a colon. Okay, in MLA writing format, we do not put colons immediately after verbs. In other writing styles, maybe, so you will see it sometimes, but in MLA, which is the writing style guide that we follow in English, do not put colons following verbs. The second sentence for us is Arthur, who's a character in the series. So Arthur often confirms the gang's authority with a single phrase: "By order of the Peaky Blinders." So here we have a quotation, and as I said previously, we can introduce quotations using colons also. So for this example, we would put it following phrase and before opening the double quotation marks. Now, this technique is also used before formal statements, but importantly, we do not use colons immediately following verbs. So if you are writing your essay and you state, "Smith argues," and then you open a quotation mark, you would use a comma before that quote instead of a colon. Now, the other note I've put here about introducing quotations or formal statements with colons, it is only when before the quotation or formal statement you use an independent clause, a full independent clause, including subject, verb, and a complete thought. Right? It could operate as an independent sentence. Okay, so that's the second use. The third use, demonstrated by the sentence, "The gang are often described by others in a single word: dangerous." And now for this sentence, what I am trying to do is emphasize the final word of the sentence, which is dangerous. So as I said in the introduction again, we can use colons to draw attention or to emphasize what follows. So in this sentence, we put the colon following the word and between dangerous. What I'm doing here is emphasizing that word at the end of the sentence. This technique can also be used to emphasize phrases at the end of sentences. Okay, and with the fourth example, "I don't know why everyone doesn't watch the show. It is amazing." So a similar technique to the one previously. What we have here are two independent clauses. "I don't know why everyone doesn't watch the show" is an independent clause. "It is amazing" is an independent clause. So in effect, this is an incorrectly punctuated compound sentence. We studied last week commas. We could separate these two independent clauses with a comma and a coordinating conjunction, one of the fanboys. We will see later today we could separate it with simply a semicolon or a semicolon and a conjunctive adverb. But for now, what we can do is use a colon. Simply a colon. No conjunction, just a colon. And this is for the same reason as shown in item number 3. It is emphasizing it is amazing. So what I want to do when I'm writing this sentence is emphasize how good the show is. It is amazing. Okay, and I've reinforced that also with the use of an exclamation point at the end. So I'm really shouting at my readers that this show is really good. And that's true, it is very good. So again, use a colon between two independent clauses to emphasize the second clause of a compound sentence. And now at the end we have some technical usage of the colon that I'm sure you've seen, but just to remind you. So, number 5, use a colon between hour and minutes. For example, 8:30 a.m., which you see, I'm sure, every day. Number 2, between chapter and verse in the Bible. For example, Genesis 1:2, meaning chapter 1, verse 2. So we write 1:2. And finally, it is used after the salutation or greeting of a formal letter or email. Okay, a formal letter or email. Not informal communications, but in formal written communication we do that. That is because, as we looked at last week, when we are directly addressing someone, we should put a comma before the name. So here we have dear, comma, Mr. Smith, and then the colon. After that, we then write the body of the email or letter. So those are